back, I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie.
What follows reflects our opinion based on the records available to us. We encourage all HOA members to review the same documents and draw their own conclusions. In this episode, we examine the HOA's maintenance and rule enforcement responsibilities and why clearly defined obligations matter. These responsibilities are not discretionary. They are written commitments in the association's governing documents, contractual obligations that apply uniformly across the community. Those obligations determine how costs are allocated, how budgets are constructed, and how financial risk is shared among homeowners.
When those obligations are applied selectively or misunderstood, the result is unequal treatment, distorted budgeting, and financial risk being shifted onto some homeowners while others are protected. Over time, this also leads to inconsistent rule enforcement and unequal allocation of HOA resources.
This matters because the board relied on asserted legal and maintenance obligations to justify extraordinary spending for the Kent properties and to override a community vote opposing the Kent deck assessment, while also planning significant infrastructure spending that the HOA does not own or is not contractually responsible for. Using the HOA's own records, we'll show that these actions reflect a broader failure to consistently apply contractual obligations across the community.
If you want the full record-based review behind today's discussion, we've covered these issues in 3 related episodes linked below.
Before evaluating whether the board is meeting its maintenance obligations, one clarification is essential: what authority the HOA actually has.
Under the governing documents, the board may only spend HOA funds on obligations that are clearly assigned to the association. Responsibility is established by recorded covenants and plats, not by reserve study assumptions, budget projections, or convenience.
That distinction matters because a board may plan for expenses, but it cannot create new obligations or shift responsibility simply by asserting them.
Section 3 of the Declaration assigns the HOA responsibility for maintaining front yard areas from the exterior wall of the home to the sidewalk. That obligation applies uniformly across the entire community. The documents do not permit selective application, discretionary enforcement, or expansion of responsibility beyond what is written.
To determine whether the board is fulfilling that mandate and whether it understands the limits of its responsibility, we examined 3 clear, documentable test cases.
The first test case involves driveway aprons. In the most recent reserve study, the board asserts that the HOA is responsible for approximately 9,900 square feet of driveway aprons.
We examined the asserted responsibility and its financial implications in our episode, Why Your HOA is Charging $250,000 for Driveway Aprons It Doesn't Own, linked below.
County property records show that most driveway aprons in Highgate are not owned by the HOA. And under county policy, driveway aprons located within public rights-of-way are the responsibility of the property owner who uses them, not the association.
The issue here is not simply cost. It's that the board is asserting authority over property it does not own and does not have a contractual responsibility to maintain, at a cost approaching $250,000 charged to you.
The second test case involves Kent Stoops, which fall within front yard areas governed by the same maintenance framework.
At different times, the board has taken 3 incompatible positions. First, that Kent owners were responsible for maintaining their stoops. Second, the HOA was not responsible for areas from the exterior wall to the sidewalk. And third, that the HOA would pay to repair Kent stoops as part of the Kent deck repair contract. In our opinion, the Kent stoops are an example of a board that is not consistently following the HOA's rules, but instead applying them based on circumstance and potentially on who is involved. One last thing, we encourage you to view episode 10. What are the architectural rules? What are the 2 Kent-specific rules? Are the rules enforced? Which examines the seemingly unequal enforcement of HOA rules and is linked below.
The third test case involves Policy Resolution 24-01.
That resolution asserts that the HOA is not responsible for maintenance from the exterior wall of the home to the sidewalk, directly contradicting the maintenance mandate written into the declaration.
A board resolution, however, cannot amend recorded covenants. Substantive changes to maintenance obligations require a formal amendment approved by the membership and recorded in the land records.
We found no record that HOA members approved Policy Resolution 24-01 and no evidence that it was recorded as an amendment to the governing documents.
That matters because the board cannot lawfully narrow its contractual obligations through policy when those obligations are clearly defined in the declaration.
Taken together, these three test cases, in our opinion, reveal a consistent and troubling pattern. The board appears to misunderstand which properties it is responsible for, applies HOA rules inconsistently depending on circumstances and perhaps who is involved, and has attempted to shift responsibility from the HOA to homeowners based on shifting interpretations and asserted authority rather than the governing documents. In our opinion, this reflects a failure of basic governance and fiduciary judgment, not isolated mistakes. The question is, what are you going to do about it? This is not about one project. It's about whether the HOA honors its contract with HOA members, consistently, fairly, and as outlined in the HOA contract, thereby protecting them from both financial and legal risk. As always, these are our opinions, based on the records available to us. We encourage all HOA members to review those records and draw their own conclusions.
Read your governing documents. Show up to HOA meetings. Ask clear questions. Hold the board accountable.
If this episode was helpful, consider sharing it with neighbors. Until next time.